Hello, Culture Matters podcast. We're back again with another culture content. Follow me, Jay Doran _ the Culture Man on Instagram for weekly topics, business, leadership, culture, short episodes, a minute or less. Make you think, question your assumptions. My goal today is to elaborate on one of the topics that we discussed, which was, are you guilty of seagull management? Now, seagull management is that idea of sweeping in uh, speaking over the team, not listening deeply enough, asking enough questions, getting to the root cause of whatever the issue is, like just like a seagull, swooping in, criticizing, creating more of a mess than was before. I did a different podcast on some of the signs of seagull management, which was either not listening at all or not asking enough questions or a combination of the two. Maybe we're stuck in the founder's trap of, or, the pathology that Ishak Adizes coined, which was the arsonist, or having, 11 ideas before two were executed. Those were signs of the seagull manager. Potentially, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper, another side of the conversation today about the structural causes of that from a standpoint of, uh, have we grown have we grown as an organization from our customer base growth, our employee growth, for us, the hires of additional staff, human capital to execute on A, B, C, D, E, F, if we're in the founding position, but we've yet to actually write out the organizational chart. We've yet to actually reimagine the vision of the organization, where it could be 3 and 5 years from now, 10 years from now, even 1 year from now. We've yet to put it on paper. We've yet to um, have a conversation about it. We don't even have team meetings yet because we haven't needed them. It's small, needed as in everyone is just working multiple jobs, wearing multiple hats, feeding off of the founding energy and enthusiasm and passion of the founders. All this is normal. And frankly, it can be a sign of um, potential value, a sign of future growth, a sign of success monetarily and organizationally in the future, to not have together to, not have to get together and chat, because the trust is so high, everyone is so competent, uh, people are fully bought in and engaged. The One of the diminishing returns of being fully bought and engaged would be that we've gotten so far without all of these things, without these gatherings. We haven't even had a meeting. Why even bother having an agenda? We haven't had to have a meeting because we are so busy getting things done. That's a natural consequence of the sense of ownership, the spirit of ownership, the equity of the founding consciousness, meaning the alignment between intellectual property, idea, and action. Words are congruent with actions. I say I'm going to do this, I get it done. I um, uh, in the beginning of the business, we're all feeding off of that. We're feeding off the energy of whoever decided to go out and start the damn thing. But once it's it gets to a certain size, there's a certain amount of responsibility, obligations. There's a certain amount of people involved. The more important the clarity, what's implicit has to become explicit. The more important the vision is to be written down, articulated, digestible, discussed, and rituals start taking place, even if they're not super thought out. It's like, oh, we got to get everybody together. We got to talk. Where are you at with this? Where are you at this? How about this? What about this? That's what, if it's happening reactively, which is going to naturally happen reactively, no matter how proactive, because we're reacting to the results that come as a consequence of action, and action comes as a consequence of the need, right? There's an absence of something. There's a goal. So it's the absence of the goal being accomplished that leads us into action. And if we have a sense of ownership, which is a sense of responsibility, and there's sacrifice, meaning we're not doing one thing, or two things or three things or an infinite amount of things because we're choosing to do this one thing. So there's a sense of owning that one thing. This is mine. I'm doing this. There's a part of my identity because I'm not doing all these other things. Executing means cutting off all other potential choices. So it comes with responsibility because there's going to be consequences for that choice, for that execution. Did I execute on the right thing? Did I execute on the wrong thing? What if it was the right thing, but things have changed outside of my control that now it's the wrong thing? That's where, as the organization grows, we have to get together and talk. And it's the onus is on leadership to be clear on what it is we're seeking to accomplish, why, at some level, why. How does this benefit the organization? Where are we going to be in the future? What are we aiming at? And this is how I think we're going to get there. What do you think? How can we make this better? How can we improve this? How can we get things done? In the beginning, a lot of that energy is coming from and needs to come from the founding, originating consciousness, the founders of the organization, because it's coming through their spirit, it's coming through their vision, it's coming through their mind. But as an organization becomes more and more customers, more and more people, more and more infrastructure, uh, the necessity of gathering, the necessity of ritual, the necessity of agenda, the necessity of clarity around the big picture, the necessity of um, values, even explicit, written down, clarified. It helps people orient their lives around the organization. So, because it's not enough to just, it, it's one thing to pay people and have them in a position of responsibility where that role and that job is meaningful to them because, well, they chose it. They know about that job description. They understand what to do. There's an inner calling involved. Um, but that's just the beginning of the relationship. Then it's, well, because anyone, even if they're not thinking, they're not in a season of thought, they're just in a season of, in their own interpersonal lives, reacting and attempting to gain resources. They'll do that by being resourceful within that job description. But at a certain point, when that fight or flight anxiety starts to wane, it's going to leave a gap that needs that, like a new purpose will have to arise. That's not just coming out of, and this happens to founders, of course, the same. It's like we're chasing this idea of this idea of success, who we will be in the future, how we will be related to, what we will have, what we will accomplish. And oftentimes founders catch it. And then what? There's a void of meaning. There's a void of purpose. It wasn't even necessarily written down. It was more of like an impulse, an intuition, a feeling, a calling, a pull. And there wasn't a lot of time of thinking. There's not a lot of time to think and to plan to strategize before there even is a business. It's just selling, 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 fulfilling, 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 scaling in the sense, delegating tasks to sell more, delegating tasks to sell more, delegating. But at some point, it's got to be more than just delegation and selling. It's going to have to be strategizing and envisioning and communicating and listening and when to listen and when to speak and how to listen and how to speak. And this comes with it necessitates a different education, different level of experience, and it's going to be learned. Goes to another topic about, why do 99% of businesses not succeed? And I think firstly, the people that started them quit. They're not unlearning. They're ultimately not sacrificing their life enough for the life of this organism. There's that, just like a pregnancy, there's a period of time where the company will die without the mother and the father. it needs food, it needs water, it needs shelter. It can't speak for itself. It can't walk yet. It can't make decisions. It doesn't have a cortex. It doesn't have even an identity yet of its own. And so just like there there's it if the analogy works, I mean, there's a sex period to business. There's a that's an exciting idea that people are, mentally masturbating about when they have their job at some other place. They're thinking, oh, I start my small business. They're having this honeymoon, this not honeymoon, they're having this affair with this idea of their business while they have some other responsibility, some other thing that they're doing either at a reasonable level or just completely disengaged, or maybe they're doing a great job at their job, but they're having this affair in their mind of what their life could be like if they started their own thing, they had their own business. There's that phase. And then there's eventually they leave the partner for the mistress. They leave their corporation. If they're an executive, they're an employee, they leave their company, or they're because people start no matter what, there's that idealistic phase. There's that what is, before the business is started, there's that idealistic phase. There's whatever environment one is in, whatever resources one has that, whatever their modicum of resourcefulness, there's an idealistic phase. There's this, and then there's the honeymoon. Right, the honeymoon would be like, maybe someone that raised a bunch of capital could be in a honeymoon phase. Or like, they have a partnership and it's before there's any real strife or adversity. They're in that honeymoon phase. Things, this is all gonna really, they got a couple, quick customers. It's like, no, the marriage starts when there's problems with that will naturally arise because business is problem solving, and it comes with adversity because things don't go the way that we envision them to. They go somewhat of the way we envision them to. And then we have to work through those problems, and it takes people outside of ourselves. So we not only have to solve the problems with our brain, we have to solve spiritual problems with people and how we show up as leaders. And it's a constant learning, a constant unlearning, a constant relearning. And the idea of the Seagull management it's an inevitability that one has to rise above as they start acting it out. Is we're going to react to things. It's how we react, how we relate to them that reveal our current level of leadership. And ultimately, my call to action to you would be everything is reacted to one degree. We proact within that reactivity. The more that we can set time to think and strategize as well as get things done, it can lower the angst and increase our competence and confidence in those reactive states we find ourselves in as leaders. And this is where having great people, but to have great people, we've got to be great people if we're going to keep great people. And being a great person is not finite. It's a up and down seesaw of emotional development, education, and that's where you just can't quit, can't give up. And so if you're a founder listening to this, keep pushing, keep moving towards the executive. And if you're working for someone that's in that position, um, I'd just tell you, do the best you possibly can to show up and be the best version of yourself. And if you believe in that person, give them a chance to show you that they can grow into who you think they can grow into. And if you don't believe in that person anymore, or you don't believe in them, then you have to figure out what you really want and do the best to articulate what you want to them. And if they are capable of listening, maybe that can salvage that relationship and you can grow within that culture. But if they're incapable, you might have to be on another part of your hero's journey. So are you guilty of Seagull management? At some degree, I think it's part of the journey of being a business owner. If one is, it's if it wouldn't exist if it wasn't a component of our psychology. The question is how aware and capable are we of arising of the worst of ourselves as we grow into leaders. So follow me, Jay Doran _ the Culture Man on Instagram. Please leave a review on the Culture Matters podcast. Share this with a friend. I will see you next time.